Hello everyone, Hamas28 here, and welcome back to Clayblock. So, as we left off last episode, I've done a little bit of terraforming around the base, just because I realized as we build out this infrastructure, we're kind of gonna need a lot more room than what's in our little house here. So I moved everything out onto the lawn, I decimated the mountain that was to the left side of our base, or technically right side if you go by. I guess that would be the left side if you go by the cardinal directions. Added a bit more terracotta bricks. And as you can see here, this was actually something you guys in the comments taught me. You can actually use moss blocks to make dirt by using flowering azaleas or just regular azalea bushes to make rooted dirt. But the developer of the mod pack did comment that he was going to remove that feature in development. So I stopped using that just because there are ways to make dirt in this pack, as you could see. Dirt can be made in the mixer with water and coarse dirt. Coarse dirt can be made from dirt and gravel, which can be made from dirt and gravel, and you can get it in other ways. I forget how exactly. There it is, the electric quarry. You can get dirt from the electric quarry. And I also believe there was a way to craft it from the mixer. If you take a look at clay soil, clay dirt, what was it called? I have it over here. What is this? Compressed clay. Clay farmland, that's it. Farmland. I believe you can actually use this. Yes, you can take 2 of these in water in a mixer to turn it into dirt. And then once you have that dirt, you could just mix it with more water, or with gravel in this case, to turn it into more dirt. So if you really want more dirt, this is how you're supposed to do it and not do the workaround with moss, which is why I stopped. Now it is still useful because the azaleas grow into wood, which is a nice way to get wood. And on this side I have a neat little pond that is 9 by 9 by however deep it is, because this is how large it has to be to get treasure drops from fishing. Mostly because, if you take a look at fishing, I wonder if it'll show it, it does not, but if I type something in like a name tag, and click this, there we go, fishing loot, there we go, you can get enchanted books from fishing, and I've been trying to get mending for my elytras, because flying back and forth between the end is very annoying. And since phantoms don't really spawn in high quantities, I can't really get I can't really get phantom membranes to fix them. Now, as you can see over here, I mostly just moved a lot of stuff around, and this is a new machine, the machine infuser, because a workaround to using the elytras is we could just teleport using RF tools, but I didn't realize that infusing machines actually takes a ton of dimensional shards, so I'm holding off on that until later. And as you can see, we have a little bit of automation going on. So this chest has coal dust, it gets pumped into the coke oven and pulls out coke dust. And our EBF is pulling in, well it was, pulling in our uncooked steel dust and pushing out steel, which is very nice. Now, if you are a very astute viewer and you're watching this video as a guide, you might be wondering, you know James, how did you craft the EBF? Because if you take a look at the copper nickel coil, well not the copper nickel, if you take a look at the heat proof casings here, you might notice something. If you remember from last episode, I mentioned you cannot make Invar gears and plates unless you have a cutting machine to turn the ingots into rods and into small rods. But you can't make a cutting machine without a conveyor, and a conveyor needs rubber, but rubber can only be produced from synthetic oil, which has to be made in a blast furnace. Which leads to the question, if you need a blast furnace to make the rubber, to make the cutting machine, but you need a cutting machine to make the heat-proof machine casing, well, that's quite a chicken and the egg conundrum. How can you have one without the other when they're both seemingly relying on each other and there's no other way to do it? And that's a very good question. This is something I actually left out of the last video when I was editing that I didn't realize that I had done so because I kind of skipped over making the last couple machines. But here's the trick. If you take a look at your item input hatches or even the fluid ones up here, you'll notice that when they become a part of the multi-block, they become heat-proof machine casings, right? They have the same texture. This is a hint at what you're supposed to do. To initially get the EBF up and running so you can make your first piece of rubber, what you need to do, instead of having any heat-proof machine casings, you can fill every single bottom layer and top layer with a basalted item input hatch, and it will function as a tier 1 electric blast furnace. And I believe that is actually the intended method you're supposed to do. Now, normally when you play modern industrialization, you go through the Steam Age, and through the Steam Age, you would already have access to this kind of stuff. But because this mod pack removes it entirely, that's what you're supposed to do, which is a neat little puzzle, which honestly stumped me for quite a while. Like, I didn't realize that we were supposed to do that until, do I have my book on me? I don't have the book on me, but if I type in electric blast furnace here, large electric blast furnace, and you take a look, the hint here that you're supposed to notice is all of these are highlighted green as accepts hatches. And that's supposed to let you know that, oh, instead of needing heat-proof machine casings, I could just fill the entire thing with item input hatches and it'll function. Now I am using this mixer here to make cobblestone, which is really nice, because otherwise, if you want to make cobblestone, cobblestone has to be smelted in a kiln using compressed clay, but now that we have access to a mixer, we could just mix cobblestone, water, and lava to make infinite amounts of cobblestone, which is really nice. I needed cobblestone to cook into, what's it called? Stone, to cook into smooth stone, and then use the smooth stone to make blast furnaces, as you can see here. Because now that we can make cobblestone and steel, we actually unlock a better blast furnace recipe, whereas before, to make a blast furnace, you needed nether brick, soul sand, and magma blocks along with a kiln. Now we could just do it with steel, smooth stone, and a furnace. And we are going to need quite a lot of these, because I want to make some pristine infuriators, using electric furnaces, stained nether cotta gears, and steel large plate, because these guys can be used essentially as kilns, as you can see here, that run off electricity, instead of having to keep using my, cold power kilns, which aren't that fast, and these should go a lot faster. Now what I want to work on today is getting a basic steam quarry up and running. Now the steam quarry is essentially the tier 1 version of the electric quarry, and in this pack it can really only be used to mine clay. But that's what I want it for, because right now the way I'm getting clay is taking my buildcraft, that takes me back, using the RF Tools builder to do mining in the end, and while that is pretty effective, it's pretty slow because I have to keep going to the end and constantly keeping that machine powered. But if I set up a steam quarry at the base, this can run 24/7 as long as it has power, and I could just AFK and keep collecting clay and have that exported into our logistics network. Now, as you can see, steam quarries will take drills to function, and these have a consumption chance of 4%. So every time this runs, there's a 4% chance that the drill is going to get used, which means that every 25 uses, we expect the drill to break, but every use, we're always going to get 3 compressed clay, and then everything else has a smaller percent chance. Now, I believe in the electric quarry, you can actually use better drills to get higher percent chances, and also it runs faster, and the consumption chance drops a lot lower, but this is still pretty efficient because primed clayium drills only take bronze, some item pipes, fluid pipes, and the drill head, which is just made from primed clayium, which the drill should be able to essentially, which on average I'm assuming should be able to pay for itself every time. Obviously primed clayium is pretty expensive, as you know, since it has to be crafted from 27 clayium, a 9x compressed clay, and a block of primed clayium. But I believe if we take a look, that's stainless steel. So where is this guy, steam quarry. It's a 1.8% chance to get a 9x compressed clay, which means we have pretty good chances that we can actually turn each one into another one pretty effectively. So I want to set this up, and then essentially this will also let us start getting coal, iron, gold, diamond, and then so on and so forth. So I am hoping that, this is enough steel, along with the steel we have in the base. And then once I have that set up, I do want to add a line for the macerator chain. That way we can get more iron per iron ore, because that will also make it a lot more efficient, because you need so much stuff in this pack. So let me put away this. So we have 512 steel. Hopefully that's enough. So to actually craft this guy, we're going to need 1 clayium rotary blade, a steel machine casing, yellow item pipes, steel large plate, and steel gears, which is all derived from steel. So steel ingots get made in the compressor. Throw in your steel ingots into the cutting machine to make our steel rods. Then take like a bunch of these steel rods and then convert these into the smaller version. I'll do about a stack. And then take these steel rods over here. We're going to convert these into steel rings, and that'll let us make all of these steel gears. Now we could just dump all of this into there and get crafted. So we're going to need some steel large plate, which is just 4 steel plates in a row. So there's that. Make ourselves some steel gears. And make ourselves one steel machine casing. We're going to need a lot more of those. Craft another steel gear to make up for the one we just used. Now we just need a rotary blade, and I think we can make it from Invar much cheaper than using the other one, because this takes diamonds over the other material. Grab some diamond. We just need... Oh wait, can I turn this into dust? Yeah, I need a macerator for that, and I don't have one yet. Okay, so I'll just make the clayum version. So now we can craft one clayum rotary blade, and make ourselves one steam quarry. From Minecraft to craft. Now, that's step one. Now we just have to craft all the remaining steel machine casings and steel pipe machine casings. Now the steel pipe machine casings are made from the steel machine casings plus 6 curved pipes. Luckily you get 2 per craft, so you only have to do this one 3 times to finish it off. 1, 2, 3 of these into 3 steel machine casing, and then we combine this with the steel curved plate to make our steel pipe machine casing. Now we just need the rest, which is actually, how much is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, minus the, so this runs off steam, so we need a fluid input, item input, and so that's minus 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So we need 12 steel machine casings, which will take 12 steel gears, and make 12 of these. And we're short on steel. Nice. Luckily we have a bunch more ingots, so I just need to compress more of this. And there we go, 12 steel machine casing. Then we are going to need some, what are they called? Chain. Which you can craft via iron ingots or steel ring. You get 6 out of these, so I might as well just craft 6, because I need more of them. Then we are going to need our input hatches. Alright, so I have all my materials, and we'll go ahead and install the drill, like right over here. That way I don't have to move anything. I'm probably going to redesign everything later once we add more machines, but for now this will do. Just want to start getting some clay production. So we're going to take our steam quarry, and actually, I could just move that one. I could just move it. We'll put the steam quarry right here, and a neat feature of the wrench is when you hold it, it actually shows you where you need to place the blocks, which is pretty nice. Did I miscount? I thought I counted this right. Okay, I guess I miscounted. That's weird. Place steel machine casing there. And it's done. 1 steam quarry. Now it does need steam, so let me go ahead and steal this guy, because I'm gonna have to make a second one of these actually. And now where was my steam input? Steam input was on the top. So throw in your coke dust, throw in your water, and it'll start making steam, which should go inside once it heats up hot enough. Now we just need the drill. So I just have 1 primed clayum drill for now, because these are actually pretty expensive to craft when you think about it. It's mostly the clayum. Everything else is pretty cheap. It's just the ingots are very expensive because of all the compressed clay. So hopefully this should help alleviate our problems. So now the water is turning into steam. Let me fill that up a bit more. 1 more bucket ought to do it. Steam is pretty full. So now if we throw in our primed clayum drill, it gets working. As you can see, it's going to take 30 seconds. Now I did put a iron chest here, so now we can hook this up there, connect it to both sides, and I think you just, how do you do this? Like that, there we go. Set you to pull. So we're going to pull out of the input hatch. We're going to set this to blacklist mode and blacklist mode, that way it'll pull out everything, and now we should get our first output. One 3x and 1 4x compressed clay. 1 3x and 1 4x, which was 60% chance, so we kind of expect to get a lot of these. But to make our profit, we need to produce at least 1 9x compressed clay. And this guy has a consumption chance of 4%, and this has a production chance of 1.8%, which means that's very close. You could probably graph like the 2 curves on like expected value and see like how much they overlap. But I'm not that much of a nerd yet. Because right now, really all we have to do is figure out how to make drills automatically, which is going to take a bunch of stuff, most notably just assemblers to get everything going. But now that we can start producing clay at home, that should make it a lot easier. Now to actually start setting up a bunch of stuff, such as, like if I want to make more assemblers are going to take a lot of parts, but we're going to need them. These take basalted. I wonder which is easier. Because we can either use basalted or steel. Basalted is obviously a cheaper material, but I have to go to the end to get that and process it. Whereas steel is pretty expensive, but it's easier to get since it's just clay. Anyways though, we have to start automating literally every single piece so we can actually start producing. Because different from other mods, like if you've ever played, well obviously you probably played with Mechanism, you're used to just making a single machine and having that do all your crafts for you, and then make another one, and then you end up having like 12 machines that do everything you need. In modern industrialization, we need multiple machines to do everything. Every machine should have one job that it can do very well, so it can produce as fast as possible. And then we also have to add some additions, like adding actual pumps to our bronze boilers to produce the steam, because right now bucketing it inside is pretty slow. But we should be able to actually craft the normal water pumps now and power them with electricity, which is pretty good. Now there's no actual way to make a steam engine, right? No, there is. We can make a steam turbine as well to turn steam into power, so it can kind of self-power itself, because right now we're running everything off of the clay. But for now, I could just AFK and let this go because I have things to do. And I just have to keep replacing these drills, which will be a little annoying because there's no other way to make these last longer. It's just 4%, which means I'm going to have to get more clayium and more bronze. And welcome back. So we're here in my creative world. You can see my giant green screen in the background with the EBF. I was trying to figure out, and this is like version 1.0, how to fully automate the production of our basic machine hulls. Now, I did get it working. Now, there are a few caveats, of course, but it does work. This is every machine needed to fully automate the basic machine hull. And it's honestly not too bad. I thought it would be a lot worse. But this is actually quite doable, with a couple caveats. So, all the power production comes from a single LV steam turbine that is actually underpowered right now. It can go higher. Powered by 2 steel boilers. This is all stuff we should be able to craft right now. Water comes in from an electric water pump, goes into the steel boilers powered by coal, powers the steam turbine, which powers everything, which I was quite amazed by. But it's mostly because if you look, the entire network is only transferring 28 EU per tick, and every machine is pretty much underclocked right now. They're running at low a tick as possible because they're sharing this power, so I can actually just speed it up by increasing the power production. But I wanted to see like the proof of concept, how I could do it and what I currently need. And one of the issues I found, so I put signs of all the inputs it's going to take. Like this side is coal, paper, tin, copper, tin. This part over here is redstone, antimony, lead. This part is redstone, steel, and coal. And this part is tin and lead dust. One of the things I noticed is right now, it's dependent on stuff like lead. And the only way we can get lead right now is through the dust form by breaking the otherworldly crystal. The only other way to get it is through an electric quarry using steel drills, which we can craft, but the electric quarry itself is kinda out of reach, because this is going to take the second tier of stuff, like advanced machine hulls, which take electronic circuits, silicon batteries, electrum cables, advanced casings, which take the basic machine hulls. You know, this is like, basic machine hulls is tier 1, now we're at advanced, which is tier 2. Which means, for this to work, I can't 100% passive it yet. It's going to still take a lot of manual input. For example, this part that takes steel will need a whole separate section just to produce the steel, so we can actually use it to craft other stuff, but then input that into this part of the factory, because the steel input is over here, right here, from this drawer, and it only goes into these 2 machines here to make steel plate and steel rod. But then everything else is pretty much done via the dust. And then one of the other easier ones is just making a paper setup, which should be pretty easy because sugarcane collection can be done through vanilla, so that's not going to take much stuff. And then paper can just be made in a compressor by compressing sugarcane directly into 2 paper, which is actually pretty good. That doubles your paper yield, whereas crafting it like this is a 1-to-1. Technically though, you could just use a crafter to do it as well, so I wouldn't even need a machine to use the EU. Depending on how much faster this is though. Not actually sure. Haven't played around with these automatic vanilla crafters in a while, because I haven't played on the latest version of Minecraft in a long time. But now I know that it works, I just have to build it. But I planned out the whole thing in creative, because I wanted to see, like the footprint, and what exactly am I going to need. Because, if you notice, right, all of the inputs are doable. It's going to take some manual work before we can fully automate it, but that's fine. I wasn't expecting us to be fully automated at this point yet, as we're on like episode 5, probably going to be like episode 9, or maybe 8, until we're fully automated at this, the rate I'm going. But I want to be able to at least store a good amount of materials in this system, so we can produce a good amount of basic machine holes, so when we do start working towards the advanced tier, it's going to go pretty smooth, and then once we can generate large amounts of ores, we can just make it as simple as plugging in those inputs directly into this machine here and get it done. Alright, so we're back in our survival world, and I've placed down our dialing device and matter transmitter. These guys take a lot of power, so they're actually a pretty big power hog. That way I don't have to use the elytra to keep going back to the end barrens, because we're going to need quite a lot of, what's it called, ingot dust from the, what is that? That purple crystal block, you know what I'm talking about? We're going to need a lot of that to get prepared for building out the entire basic machine hole infrastructure, because we're going to need quite a lot of materials to build every single machine. And using these dialing device and matter transmitter, we'll be able to teleport directly to the matter receiver, where I can use the builder and make that trip going back and forth so much faster. So I'm going to head off to the end and place this, and let's see if it works. And here we are. This is what I wanted to see. And I guess I'll go ahead and put down the teleporter up here, because this is where I want to be, where all of this crystal is. Let's go ahead and land up here. And what is this crystal called again? I always forget the name. Let me swap this. This is called Otherworldly Crystal. Gotcha. So if we take our materials, matter receiver, builder, energizer, and I place it over here. So place the builder. You can place the builder pretty much anywhere. What really matters is just that the chunk that it's in is loaded, not that the chunks it's mining in are loaded, from what I believe. Do that, clay energizer, and matter receiver. So now we need to feed this guy with some clay. And he should... Why is it not? Oh, I might have to bring cables for this. Did not think of that. Okay, that's annoying. Luckily, I can actually just move this guy right now, because I think the matter receivers actually store power even when you break them. Yeah, they do. Nice. So I could just make sure he has the power in here. Now, it does give you a warning that you have to make sure there's enough power in here to actually use it. So we're going to set this to the end barrens. Public, there we go. So now if I move this and do that, he should still function. You just have to be careful. If you try teleporting to a matter receiver that doesn't have enough power, I'm not actually sure what would happen, but I don't think it would be good. Now this guy, we take a shape card, and oh, I need to bring a chest. Okay, we could use a shulker for now. Grab you and this. Pipe there. Shulker box on the top. Throw that in there. Throw in our clay. And this will run out of power because we're mining something that isn't clay, but that's fine for now. So now we move this RF builder to the back so he gets the power. Right click this, and I'm going to select the entire top of the otherworldly crystal. Alright, try that one more time. There we go. Grab our lever, put you on there. Oh, he doesn't have a chest. Okay, we'll use this shulker for now. Not enough power. I think it's because I turned him off. Yep, there we go. And he very quickly filled up with dust. Nice. Dang, this ate the power like crazy. I wonder where the clay is coming from, because it should be this whole thing right here. After a while, you do see the square kind of chisel out, as you can see over here. This is where I was mining before. But we definitely aren't going to produce enough power to make this viable for now. Oh, more clay. Nice. But you can see this is an automatic way if you don't want to mine it yourself. But I think I have to mine it myself. Now that I think about it, I think it would be faster if I just take an obsidian pickaxe, especially since obsidian is pretty free right now. And I wonder where it's getting all this clay from. I understand the obsidian, but not the clay. There shouldn't be any clay right here. Interesting. Not that I can see though, because I went from like right here to over there, so I'm not sure where the clay is coming from. Unless, does the otherworldly crystal drop clay? I don't think it does. Yeah, it doesn't drop clay, so I'm not sure where that's coming from. But as you can see, this is where you get your tin, your lead, and your antimony. And it's mostly 1-to-1, which is pretty nice. But I'm going to need to stock up a couple shulker boxes worth of lead, antimony, and tin to actually jumpstart our production. So I think I'll just come back here with a bunch of obsidian crushers and just mine it by hand. I like using the builder, but it's so expensive power-wise, it's not really viable at this level. Anyways, though, that wasn't the point of our little excursion to the end. It was to test out our transmitter. So now, if I use the dialing device to the baron at the ends, we should be able to dial it. Start a connection between the selected transmitter and the selected receiver. Distance dimension warp. Dial a connection for a single teleport. I wonder how that works. So if I teleport, if I dial it, does it keep it all the time? It might. Interesting. Now before I forget, I do need to bring some cabling with me, so I'm going to grab that real quick. And now let's see if this guy works. So if we come here, dial once, we teleport. Nice. And it used about 5,000, a little less than 5,000 FE per tick, which is pretty nice. Now sadly you can't go back because you just dialed it once. But that's not an issue because the beacon is right over there. It's a lot easier to leave the end than to come all the way over here since we're almost 6,000 blocks away. But that is really nice. So I think what I need to do is bring a bunch of obsidian hammers and just tear down this entire mountain. So we can have so much ingot dust that I'm not going to be bottlenecked for quite a while. Now I don't think we'll need anything else. I'm going to need a lot of curium cables to craft everything. Unless there's a different cable that's a bit cheaper right now. Because it's not really an issue of expense. Curium cables are pretty cheap because it's basalt and curium. It's just annoying because I have to gather so much of it at a time. And looking at the cables, it does seem like I should just keep using the curium cables because they're going to be the cheapest. And since I'm in this biome anyway, it really shouldn't be an issue. Now then, there's one more thing I want to get done before I finish this episode. That will be a great help for essentially gathering all the end materials so I don't have to keep making trips back and forth. I can do them a lot more intermittently, and that's going to be crafting a advanced wire terminal, which will let us access our storage from anywhere across dimensions. But as you can see, to do this, we need a beacon, a level 4 beacon at that, for it to function, which is why I gathered some wither skeleton skulls and some soul sand so we could slay the wither. But if you know me, you know I hate fighting the wither. It's always a pain, mostly because it requires a lot of gear that I don't like doing because I have to go out of my way. But this time, I have come up with a solution, and to do so, you only need a couple of very cheap items. So I've come pretty far from the base, 200 blocks ought to do it, and to set this up to automate the killing of the wither is actually pretty simple. All you need is a shield projector tier 1, you need some of these blue shield template, which you just place like this, and we only have to do a little thing. I might need more of these actually, because I need it to reach. The chamber on the inside has to hold the wither. And it has to be 4 tall, so actually, I might be able to do with less. 1, 2, 3, like so, because I might be able to. It doesn't have to be perfect, because the wither can't move out of it. So you're going to build a little cage out of this blocks, like so. Yeah, because if I do it like this, the wither shouldn't be able to escape. Otherwise, you can always make more of these. I just need more string to make the wool. So like so. And I think I'll just grab more of these blue shield templates. They're pretty cheap, as you can see. If you type blue shield template. It's just made from wool, glass, and blue dye, which is pretty easy to get. But once you place them all down, like so, and I'll just place these here so you can see it, and give it a source of power, like our clay energizer, and hopefully that's going to work. Actually, let me double check, because I always find it has issues. If I do like this, that should work. Okay, perfect. So now you come in here, and you're going to set up a filter. So you're going to say, entity that matches filter can pass through. We want it to take damage and be solid. Entity that matches the filter cannot pass and gets damaged, and we're going to set this to hostile mobs. You're going to hit add, and it's going to say hostile solid damage. And that's all you have to do. So now we just have to turn this on. Oh, with a wrench, I didn't craft one. To turn this on, you need one of these smart wrenches from RF Tools. Luckily, it's also very cheap. So I'll craft this and make some more of these blue shield templates, and we'll come right back. Okay, so now it's done. So you just take your smart wrench, right click, and it turns on the shield. Now I added an extra one so that they're solid to the player, so I can actually walk inside and walk on it. And we turn this off, make sure we have some fuel inside, eat some clay snack, and now if we summon the wither inside of the box, what's going to happen is he's going to collide with the shield, and every time he does, he's going to take damage. And he's going to keep trying to fly up and out of here because he's taking damage, which means he's going to take more damage. Now, the reason I have it a little spaced back here is that the shield won't stop projectiles. So it is possible, if you're not careful, that the wither shoots a projectile to your shield projector, it breaks, and he escapes. So hopefully that's not going to happen. Which is why I'm going to stand like over here to hopefully redirect his fire to this side. But this should make slaying the wither pretty easy. So go ahead and turn on the shield projector. Wait, why is he floating through it? Solid. Okay, it's working, it's working. He can't leave. So you can see it is going around, dealing damage to the environment. So we just gotta make sure he doesn't damage the shield projector, and we should be fine. And he escaped containment. Uh-oh. Let that be a lesson to always back up your world. Luckily, I had a world backup from a day or two ago, so I didn't lose any progress. A day or two ago seems like a long time, but when I loaded up my previous world, I did just finish mining stuff in the end dimension, and I didn't do anything after that, so I actually didn't lose any progress, apart from having to rebuild the shield projector and the blue shield templates. So, what you're supposed to do is set it to default solid damage, and then put in a caveat for players can pass through. So now, when you use the smart wrench, players can enter inside, no problem, just like that. But now the damage from the wither skeleton, from the wither itself, shouldn't be able to enter. So actually let me grab some blocks so I can get up a little bit. That's what is a little bit annoying, is you do have to build a little bit of a ladder for yourself. Shift K, do that. So you can get up to the top here. 1, 2. Oh, that's not where you're supposed to go. Whoops. Now the only thing I'm worried about is that sometimes this shield projector does run out of power, which can be bad. But there we go. He can't escape, he's taking damage. And additionally, you can walk in there with your sword to deal additional damage as well, but he can see you, which is pretty annoying. But you can just like do that and stab him, but it's not really needed. But you can see the explosion does resonate out in a line, so you just gotta make sure. Okay, interesting. And there we go, he's defeated. And I think the Nether Star got blown up. Huh. Okay, that's annoying, I'm going to have to do that again. And there we go, 1 Nether Star. Let me grab that, turn you off. Where'd it go? Got pushed out somewhere. There it is, 1 Nether Star. Now, I'm thinking, here's the issue. When I was testing this on my creative world, my shield projector never broke. But I think the issue I identified is that when you set the filter to not let anything through, it destroys items. But if you set it so items can go through, the projectiles that the wither spawns can leave. So I think the only way you can get around that, and I'll probably do that again if I need more beacons, is the wither only flies up. He really doesn't fly down. So I think what I'll do is just remove the blue shield template from the bottom. That way when the wither dies, the item should just fall down to the ground without touching the shield and getting damaged. So now we can go ahead and craft ourselves one beacon. Ta-da! Take our iron, and oh, we're gonna need a lot of iron for this actually. I think we have enough. Is this enough? 44. How much does a full beacon need? Okay, I just googled it. It's like 164, so we're not gonna have quite enough, but it's not that difficult to get a lot of iron, but we can prepare for that. So, now that we have the beacon, now we just have to make our crafting terminal. What's it called? I think it's just called a terminal. Terminal, there we go. Advanced wireless terminal. We'll take netherite, a smithing template, and a wireless terminal, which will take a redstone comparator, a spyglass, oh, amethyst. Amethyst is blowing up purple terracotta, no problem. To make one spyglass, make ourselves the wireless terminal. Now how do I bind this? Extend to your reach. Do I just do this? No, I have to bind it, I think. How do I bind it? Shift. Right click. Shift right click. Left click. How do you function? Oh, so you don't bind it, it just lets you see it like that. Does it work through walls? Huh, not really. Makes it kind of useless. And this one I assume does bind. Yeah, sneak right click to bind it. So now we just need netherite, which is made from ancient debris, which is made from 6x compressed terracotta. So it's actually not that difficult. And then the smithing template is just made from nether bricks and 8x compressed terracotta. And I think we have terracotta in here. 2x, 3x. Okay, we're going to need quite a lot of terracotta, but I should have the clay variant. Yep, 8x compressed, so that's not that difficult. Make ourselves one smithing template with a bunch of... Oh, I need more nether brick. Where do I get these again? Nether brick, nether brick. Oh, just from netherrack. So now we can make ourselves one smithing template, and then we can always duplicate these using this method here. Just need a piece of netherrack. Oh, we actually don't have any netherrack. But I found in creative, you can actually find it at the very tip top of the nether. And they're not that expensive, and I really only need one. I'm not going to upgrade my armor anytime soon. We need a smithing table. I'm out of iron? Oh, because I turned all the iron into blocks. Smithing table. Now we just need one netherite ingot, which comes from 6x compressed terracotta. And I should be able to turn this into terracotta in a regular furnace. And then we'll turn this into scrap, turn the scrap into ingots, and then use that to make our wireless terminal and connect it to the storage. And then I'll just have to mine a ton of iron so we can get it to infinite cross-dimensional range. Make an ingot. Combine this into that, shift right click, bound, and now we can use it. Nice. Beacon level determines the range. So now, and I believe it just has to be range 64 blocks, the terminal chunk has to be loaded and nearby beacon in an 8-block radius of the terminal. So we could just put this on the roof, or yeah, on the roof ought to work. Bam. And now the reach should be infinite. Bound to overworld. Terminal chunk is loaded. A nearby beacon in an 8 blocks radius. Now we can reach anywhere in the same dimension. Then we just have to upgrade the beacon to level 4 to access it across every dimension and have infinite storage everywhere. Now, I do believe in the latest version of the pack, he did add a chunk loader. Nice, chicken chunks. So now we can craft a chunk loader to keep the terminal chunk loaded, and we're good to go. But at this point, this episode has gone on quite long enough. I'm your host, Hamas28, and I'll see you guys next time.